I love ants, don't you? They're such beautiful creatures. They are uniform with a single goal. They create their own little world with tunnels and a very complicated architecture. I wanted my own ant farm. I studied ants ever since I was 5 years old, and now, finally now, am I ready for my own ant farm. I didn't just want a little ant farm, I wanted a huge ant farm. So I created a huge dome with a board underneath it so that they wouldn't escape. I then filled the dome with dirt in which they could live. I also created a water container above the dome so that I could leak down water so they could drink. It was ready. I went to an anthill outside my house and got 2 ants, one male and one female. I then placed them in the dome world I created for them. I put fruit of every kind inside the dome. I made sure that it was ant paradise. Just because I felt like it, I placed a small bowl of honey in the middle of the fruit, and I said, "You are not to eat the honey, you are only to eat the fruit." I then left for a little while, then an ant from outside got in and started eating the honey. The female ant followed, as did the male ant. This made me furious. I took out the honey and all the fruit. I then made a giant oven filled with fire to punish the ant that got in. I laughed as I watched the ant burned alive. That was not enough. I took a pair of tweezers and a magnifying glass and tore off one antenna and one leg off the ants to punish them for disobeying me. I said to the ants, "I will tear off one antenna and one leg off of your children and the generations of children after them to punish you for disobeying me." I then placed rotting lettuce inside for the ants to eat instead of fruit. The ants bred and the colony grew. I loved every one of them. I took an interest in individual ants. I loved them. All of them. But they didn't love me. They didn't even notice me. This made me angry. I still loved them, but they made me angry. My colony of ants started to grow. As they started to grow, they started to fight over the food I gave them. They started to kill one another. Their hygiene was less than satisfactory. They were fornicating in groups. I had it with them. There was not enough room in my oven to burn them all. I didn't know what to do. There was one ant that noticed me, however. He would crawl on my hand every time I would feed them. He interacted with me. I loved him. So I took him and his family and I put them in a little container with just enough food to last them a while. I then proceeded to pour gallon after gallon of water into my dome as I watched them drown. What could I do? I was displeased with them. I could see no other alternative but to destroy them. They didn't love me. They didn't worship me. I gave them food and not one said thank you. I made a promise to the remaining ants that I would never do that again. However, if any ant were to displease me, I would place them in my oven and watch them burn. It gives me no pleasure to punish them, but I have to punish them for what they are, sinful animals.
This, my friends, is a crude telling of the story of Adam and Eve as well as the flood of Noah. I specifically told this story from the point of view of God, to get into his mind as to why he did the things he did. There are a few differences in the story I told and the biblical account, but God's reaction was the same in either story. So I want to ask you, why would you worship a God like this? Why would you worship a God that would let starving children in Africa die? Why would you worship a God that would burn mentally handicapped people in hell when they literally aren't able to understand the concept of God? Furthermore, why does God play hide and seek with us? If God exists, why does he hide his existence behind science? If he actually existed, he would plainly show himself to us instead of creating a book with metaphors and similes, instead of getting right to the freaking point. Christians describe God as a just and merciful God, when he is everything but. Christians cherry pick verses in the Bible, but when it comes to verses and stories that don't paint a pretty picture, they get ignored. While we're on the topic, what makes you think your God is real in the thousands upon thousands of gods over several thousand-year human history are fake? There are gods that came before the Christian God, and there are gods that came after. How is yours any more real than those? If your answer is because I have a relationship with God and God speaks to me through prayer and guides me along everyday life. Now, if I were to substitute the word God for Buddha, you would say, that's stupid. Let's test that. I know that Buddha exists because I have a personal relationship with him. Buddha talks to me through prayer and he guides me along everyday life. Sounds stupid, right? That's just replacing the word God in the sentence. Your evidence to prove that God exists is not enough. Why believe the sentence with the word God and not believe the sentence with the word Buddha? They literally have the same information proving that both gods exist. That is a logic question, actually. The fact is, you have been indoctrinated by people who want to control you. Much like parents saying to little children, if you don't go to sleep, the boogeyman will come and get you. People of authority say, if you don't believe in Jesus Christ and give money to us, you will be cast into a lake of fire and burned alive for all of eternity. Here are a couple of the most cringeworthy examples.
As surely as I'm speaking by the Spirit of God, that is a word for a person right now. That is God penetrating your heart. It's burning on the inside of you, and you need to make a vow of faith of $1,000. Oh, Bob, couldn't you say 25? No! You can't make a $1,000 vow of faith. I'm saying in faith. And if you want the kind of miracles that are in the Bible, you're going to have to do what God said to do. And get your seed of faith into the ground. It'll begin to grow and God begin to move.
I need you to understand that there was a precious woman in my meeting in Richmond, Virginia. I was teaching along these lines. She began to shout. She put a little envelope in my hand, ready to be delivered of a child she was carrying. The doctor's report had been that the child had more tumors in its brain than the doctors could even count. She sowed a seed at that point. She did that as an act of her faith. She gave birth to a baby, perfectly normal, not a single tumor anywhere to be found. There has never been a time like this.
You may be saying to yourself, it's all faith-based. You must believe in your heart that God exists and you will see and hear him. What the hell kind of sense does that make? What makes you think that I will accept a book that describes Earth as flat and man was made from dust as the book that I will follow for the rest of my life in hopes of making it to heaven? On that note, what if I don't like heaven? And what if you knew a family member or loved one went to hell and you went to heaven? Wouldn't that make you sad? Heaven would be a sad place if you knew that your wife, husband, girlfriend, boyfriend went to hell and is burning alive for all of eternity while you're in heaven. I don't know about you, but that would make me feel guilty and sad. There is mountains of evidence disproving the Bible, and I will get to that in future videos. As for now, I want to leave you with 2 questions to think about. To really think about. What makes your God more real than the thousands of others? And is that God a psycho control freak? My name is Exterior Skeptic, and I will see you later.